This episode is fueled by Loaded Gun Coffee, veteran-owned, small batch roasted, and bold enough to actually taste as strong as it smells. They're all about quality over gimmicks, and every bag is roasted to order, so it's fresh when it hits your doorstep. You can grab your favorite roast at loadedguncoffee.com and use code JackieEspada for 10% off your order. Support small business, drink bold, and start your day the clean way with Loaded Gun Coffee. I'm so excited to tell you about In His Word, a woman-owned, family-run Christian brand from the Pacific Northwest. 3 sisters and their moms started this business out of their kitchen, creating faith-based apparel and home goods designed to keep us rooted in God's Word. Every design is prayed over, crafted by hand, and made with the mission of helping you carry Scripture into your everyday life. Whether it's a bold reminder or something more subtle that keeps your heart steady, you can shop their collection at inhisword.us and use my code JackieEspada for $10 off orders over $70. That's inhisword.us. Faith you can wear and carry wherever you go. Good afternoon / morning, wherever you are in the country. Today is February 8th. We are back for Bible study for Overthinkers. Today is episode 11, and we'll be going over and reading through Job 22 to 32 today. And I want to make sure that I have that correct. Yes, 22 through 32 today. So it's going to be a great time, I think. So make sure, if you guys haven't already, to hit that thumbs up as you guys are filing in. I hope that you guys are having a great Sunday. I know that I'm going to have a great Sunday because not only do I get to see you guys twice in one day, but I'm also working on a few food things. So that should be very fun, and I'm really excited about it. So I hope that you guys are excited and ready for today's episode. I know that we are going to have a great time. So if you guys are filing in, remember to hit that thumbs up. I wanted to thank our first 2 sponsors of the show, Loaded Gun Coffee and In His Word. Both, if you use my code JackieEspada on Loaded Gun, you get 10% off your Loaded Gun order. But within His Word, you get $10 off orders of $70 or more. So, and I do know that they actually have some new designs that they just released and restocked a lot of their old designs too. So make sure to check out inhisword.us. Oh, they even redid their website. Okay, we have to pull it in. It's so pretty, and I'm so excited about it. So, they updated it for the season. Obviously, Valentine's Day. And, obviously we love because he first loved us. So that's 1 John 4:19. And of course, we'll get there at some point when we get to our readings. But this is In His Word. They have new merch. I want to see if they have what it looks like. Show me the new stuff. So let's shop now. Let's see. But yeah, they have plenty of shirts, t-shirts. They have hoodies and sweaters. Oh, this is it right here. Thy will be done. This is the new one. Oh, that's so pretty. Yes, I need it. I need one of these. So I think I'm going to be getting one of these. Yeah, I love the Thy will be done. And I need to get it before the cold season is over. So shop In His Word and get your merch from them. Of course, use my code if you want a discount. And of course, that some of the proceeds of that does come back to me. So thank you guys. If you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Like I said, we're going to continue through Job chapter 22, starting there. We've obviously kind of seen where Job is. Poor Job has been dealing with a lot, and his friends are really not helping. They think that they're helping, and they're not doing a good job. They're what they're doing is they're making accusations and pointing the finger and trying to gaslight him almost in a way, and and he's just like, can't you just answer my questions? So today we'll see we'll see what happens, and actually we'll introduce a new friend into the mix and see how this new friend reacts. We won't get into a lot of the new friend because the new friend was is going to be more so for Thursday's study, but I'm super excited for this. And yeah, let's get into it. As always, I am reading from the She Reached Truth Christian Standard Bible translation. So that is what we're reading from today. And like I said, we're going to be reading from Job. And this is chapter 32 or 22, excuse me. So chapter 22, these are so last time we ended with the second round of speeches. And the last that we saw was Job talking to Eliphaz and basically saying, you're not listening to me. And that's okay. Like, you've already tuned me out. Let's try this again. So now Eliphaz speaks again. And so we're going to start with Eliphaz speaking in chapter 22. And of course, if you guys at any point have any insights, questions, uh, anything like that, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we will talk through them together because that's what this whole study is about, is doing this whole thing together. So this is going to be a fun time, and let's get into it. But first, let me clear my throat because I feel like there's something stuck in there. All right. Chapter 22, the third series of speeches. This is Eliphaz speaking, and it starts as so. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, "Can a man be of any use to God? Can even a wise man be of use to him? Does it delight the Almighty if you are righteous? Does he profit if you perfect or perfect your behavior?" So, in my opinion, this whole thing is about to, like, this just kind of reduces God to an uninterested judge and not a relational being. So we'll see, we'll see what else he thinks. But as of right now, Eliphaz's speech is not rubbing me the right way. It's definitely, we'll see what happens. All right, chapter 22, verse 4. Does he correct you and take you to court because of your piety? Isn't your wickedness abundant and aren't your iniquities endless? For you took collateral from your brothers without cause, stripping off their clothes and leaving them naked. You gave no water to the thirsty and withheld food from the famished, while the land belonged to a powerful man and an influential man lived on it. You sent widows away empty handed, and the strength of the fatherless was crushed. Therefore, snares you surround you, and sudden dread terrifies you, or darkness, so you cannot see, and a flood of waters covers you. In my opinion, this right here, we're just the friends just lose all credibility to me. What they're doing is they're inferring, they move, well, actually no, they went from moving from inference to moving to fabrication, because now they're making things up. Before they were saying, well, maybe it could be this, or kind of comparing him to what the wicked people do. Now he's straight up saying, like, you gave no water to the thirsty, and you did this and you did that, and this is why you are in the situation that you are in right now. Isn't that crazy? Like, your own friend just turned his back on you. That's crazy. But I mean, I think we've all kind of been in that place before, unfortunately. Yeah, Artsy Jones, it sounds like they are vaccinated. Yeah. That's exactly what it sounds like. Also, my hands are very dry. I've been doing sourdough things today. I yesterday attempted, so I tried to bake. Friday. Okay, well, let's go back. Friday I made a loaf. And it it bulk fermented all day on Friday. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning and it was still fermenting. And I was like, I gotta go to sleep, dude. I can't leave you out because I'm afraid that you're going to over ferment. which I probably should have just done. Um, so that one I ended up baking. It's all right. It's not terrible. It's a little gummy. You just bake it and like basically burn it and it's fine. Um, so that and so yesterday I was I was bulk fermenting and like doing things uh for a chocolate chip loaf. So it's just like a plain loaf and then I just like mixed in chocolate chips. So hopefully that turns out because that one looks really good and it's supposed to be like a croissant loaf, meaning I put butter, I like folded butter in between the layers too so that it could hopefully like become like a croissant au chocolat, the or pain au chocolat. Yeah, pain au chocolat because it's like well, it's more supposed to be like a croissant loaf, so it'll have like the chocolate chips weaved in with all the butter, and hopefully it turns out. I'm really excited about that one. If it doesn't turn out, it'll be all right. So that, and then today I am making pretzels. So I made the dough already for the pretzels. It is upstairs doubling in the kitchen. So that and now I'm going to as once we're done with today's show, I'm going to attempt to because I have a lot of starter. Like intentionally made a lot because I knew that I was going to be baking today. So after this, I am going to attempt to make um a sandwich loaf, so sandwich bread. We'll see. If it doesn't turn out, oh well. But we'll see. And then the other thing that I'm going to be making is like pizza bites. So basically just taking the discard, putting it in a muffin tin, like a mini muffin tin, and then topping it with pepperoni and cheese and then like seasoning and just like sourdough discard on top. So nothing too crazy there, but just to get rid of some of the discard. That's what I was gonna do. So very busy today, and my hands are dry, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to apply some soft disclosure because this is the only lotion that makes my hands feel nice. So yeah, that I've been very, very bakey. And so the thing is that behind these, the reason those are there right now is basically to cover the mess because there's like two bags of flour back there. There's butter. All the things are just like on the counter. So that's what that's back there. But let's get back into that's just a little side quest to talk about my busy day. But let's get back into the word. And Eliphaz, obviously, he went from accusing or yeah, accusing, well, no, inferring about what Job may have done to now making things up. So let's get back into it. Chapter 22, verse 12 is where we're at. So, isn't God as high as the heavens? And look at the highest stars, how lofty they are. Yet you say, what does God know? Can he judge through total darkness? Clouds veil him so that he cannot see as he walks on the circle of the sky. Will you continue on the ancient path that wicked men have walked? They were snatched away before their time, and their foundations were washed away by a river. They were the ones who said to God, leave us alone. And what can the Almighty do to us? But it was he who filled their houses with good things. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see this and rejoice. The innocent mock them, saying, surely our opponents are destroyed, and fire has consumed what they left behind. This is very ironic. And you can tell that, again, Eliphaz is not listening to what Job is saying. He clearly is saying to his friends, like, I feel like God is too close to me right now. Because he said it. He says Job has been struggling because God feels too close. He doesn't feel too far away. He feels too close. So for Eliphaz to say, isn't he as high as the heavens? He's just so far away. Like that's why he's not paying attention to you. So it's just interesting. Like it's interesting that they're really just showing who they are to Job just by them talking. And that's usually how it happens whenever you have a friend who is, or a friend who you are very close with, and that you come to them in your time of need. And I've actually had this happen to me before, where I will go to a friend, and it's happened to my mom before too, where we will go to a friend and, you know, looking for some help, and they'll completely ignore us. They will literally just like put up a wall and be non-existent. But when things are happy and great again, they somehow happen to show up. But it's interesting. Uh the different dynamics of friends, and who knows. But anyways, let's keep going. Chapter 22 verse 21. This is the last little part of Eliphaz speaking. And he says, "Come to terms with God and be at peace. In this way, God will come to you. Receive instructions from his mouth and place his sayings in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be renewed. If you banish injustice from your tent and consign your gold to the dust, the gold of Ophir to the stones in the wadis, the Almighty will be your gold and your finest silver. Then you will delight in the Almighty and lift up your face to God. You will pray to him and he will hear you, and you will fulfill your vows. When you make a decision, it will be carried out, and light will shine on your ways. When others are humiliated and you say, 'Lift them up,' God will save the humble. He will even rescue the guilty one, who will be rescued by the purity of your hands." So this again, this feels like a transactional faith here. So like this turns repentance almost like into a tool for reward, not reconciliation kind of thing. It at least that's what it kind of feels like to me. So I don't necessarily I don't Eliphaz is not paying attention, because he literally just promised restoration if Job just repents. What Job has literally been saying how great God is, and worshiping him as he's been going through this struggle. Yes, he's had times where he's just kind of, questioned what's been going on. And the we talked about like the dips in the faith, where he's up at he's believing at the top of all faith, and then he comes and dips back down, and then goes back up, and then goes back down. So, yeah. And Jennifer's absolutely right. She's like, "I know Job has to be like, 'Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?'" That's a really good one, actually. That's a we're we're writing that down, because that's actually really good content idea. So I will credit you on that one, Jennifer. Jennifer's on a roll. Last week she came up with a shirt idea. Now she's coming up with some content. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, if we can splice like the rush hour quote, where Chris Tucker is like, "Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?" That, and like make it Job, we're onto something. Okay. Got it. Wrote it down. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 23. Chapter 23 is Job now responding. Job is responding again, and he's replying back to Eliphaz. And you can see that there's a definite tone change for sure. Before, Job was kind of a little sarcastic. He was, kind of had those moments where he was like eye rolling, kind of scoffing. Not so much frustration, but now you can feel this tone change for sure. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 23. This is Job's reply to Eliphaz. It says, "Then Job answered, 'Today also my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy despite my groaning. If only I knew how to find him, so that I could go to his throne. I would plead my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn how he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Would he prosecute me forcefully? No, he would certainly pay attention to me. Then an upright man could reason with him, and I could escape from my judge forever." So right there, Job still longs to present his case directly to God here. He wants, and he still believes that God is just, and yes, he may not think he's super accessible right now, but he still believes that God is just. So there's that tone change where he's like, "No, I still believe. Like you guys are wrong." Chapter 23, verse 8. If I go east, he is not there, and if I go west, I cannot perceive him. When he is at work to the north, I cannot see him. When he turns south, I cannot find him. Yet he knows the way I have taken. When he has tested me, I will emerge as pure gold. My feet have followed in his tracks. I have kept to his way and not turned aside. I have departed from the commands from his lips. I have treasured the words from his mouth more than my daily food. So now, God's Job feels like he's searching everywhere and can't find God. Yet he says that he has followed God faithfully. So, but this is a reminder that faith here is obedience without the reassurance. And I think a lot of us need that reminder too. That, just because we don't see God working in the middle of something doesn't mean that he's not there. He is there, 100% there. He's working in the midst, but he wants to make sure that you're being obedient and do what you have to do first so then he can come back and do what he needs to do to finish the job. It's a beautiful thing, if you ask me. All right, the last little bit of chapter 23 says, but he is but he is unchangeable. He's also unmanageable, if you ask me. So, but he is unchangeable. Who can oppose him? He does what he desires. He will certainly accomplish what he has decreed for me, and he has many more things like these in mind. Therefore, I am terrified in his presence. When I consider this, I am afraid of him. God has made my heart faint. The Almighty has terrified me. Yet I am not destroyed by the darkness, by the thick darkness that covers my face. So, Job admits that God will do what he will. There's, it's complete surrender without the understanding because he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know why he's going through the situation he's currently going through, but he still trusts and believes. And I think, again, this is just a reminder for all of us that even though we're not going, like we haven't literally lost everything and everyone, but even still, we should still be worshiping him and making sure that he gets all the glory because he's the only one that will get us out of captivity like he did in Exodus. So, and bring us through the wilderness. So, again, you guys decide. Oh, I feel like this nostril is super inflamed right now and I can barely breathe, but that's okay. Eleanor 2000 in the chat said that is a great verse, Jackie, but he stands alone and who can oppose him? He does whatever he pleases. He carries out his decree against me. Yeah, that's a really powerful one. And it's true. He will do what he said he will do. All right. Let's keep going. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. This is the one where we'll see the question that Job has for them. Because Job has a specific question. So the first part of this question goes as such. Why does the Almighty not reserve times for judgment? Why do those who know him never see his days? The wicked displace boundary markers. They steal a flock and provide pasture for it. They drive away the donkeys owned by the fatherless and take the widow's ox as collateral. They push the needy off the road. The poor of the land are forced into hiding. Like wild donkeys in the wilderness, the poor go out to their task of foraging for food. The desert provides nourishment for their children. They gather their fodder in the field and glean the vineyards of the wicked. Without clothing, they spend the night naked, having no covering against the cold. Drenched by mountain rains, they huddled against the rocks, shelterless. The fatherless infant is snatched from the breast. The nursing child of the poor is seized as collateral. Without clothing, they wander about naked. They carry sheaves but go hungry. They crush olives in their presses. They tread the wine presses but go thirsty. From the city, men groan. The mortally wounded cry for help. Yet God pays no attention to this crime. So this, Job is listing all of the different injustices that are going on everywhere. He's talking about the poor being exploited, the orphans being abused, and workers being crushed. So he's validating the suffering the friends refuse to see. They're only talking about the friends are, talking about like just these not real examples. These ones are things that you can see, things that you guys are people that they're actually experiencing every day. So I think this is what the first part where the question where we're like, okay, Job is like, okay, you guys are not getting it. And this is why you're not getting it. So chapter 24 verse 13 says the wicked are those who rebel against the light. They do not recognize its ways or stay on its paths. The murderer rises at dawn to kill the poor and needy, and by night he becomes a thief. The adulterer's eye watches for twilight, thinking, no eye will see me, and he covers his face. In the dark, they break into houses. By day, they lock themselves in, never experiencing the light. For the morning is like darkness to them. Surely they are familiar with the terrors of darkness. So evildoers obviously like to hide their actions in the dark. There's all of the stuff that's going on. So of course, I think he's, talking about how he's not being secret with what's going on. He's not doing things in at night and doing all of that. If that makes sense. And the last part, actually, let's see. Before we get into the last part, I see you guys in the chat are being active. So let me see what's going on. I don't know how to respond to people who say, why does God let children suffer, starve, and be abused? I only say it's not God. And it is a bit silly to question his pain. Excuse me. Oh, man. Okay. So Eleanor 2000 said, and it is a bit silly to question his plan, although I do it all the time. No telling how often Jesus rolls his eyes at me and says, oh, Eleanor. Yeah, totally agree. But yeah, that is a hard one. Artsy Joan, about why does God let children starve, suffer, and be abused? That is tough. Um, it obviously, Jennifer Ray, she responded and said God exists, but so does evil. I think there's a lot we cannot understand as humans. I agree. When there's obviously, and that's a thing, like all of these things that are happening to children are being done in the dark. But the thing is, because darkness loves secrecy, but the darkness is where Satan dwells too. And I think I'm pretty sure it is. Like you said, it is not from God. It 100% is from the devil and demons and all of that. And what we can do is 100% just ask God to bring them to salvation and bring the light into those dark places and save those that are hungry, suffering, abused, in need, all of that. So it's tough. It's a hard argument, and I wish that we could be the ones to go out there and like do it ourselves kind of thing. But I think it is happening. It definitely is happening. But we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. We can just keep praying, and things will make a difference for sure. All right, let's finish out chapter 24. We're on verse 18 now. So they float on the surface of the water. Their section of the land is cursed, so that they never go to their vineyards. As dry ground and heat snatch away the melted snow, So Sheol steals those who have sinned. The womb forgets them. Worms feed on them. They are remembered no more. So injustice is broken like a tree. They prey on the childless woman who is unable to conceive, and do not deal kindly with the widow. Yet God drags away the mighty by his power. When he rises up, they have no assurance of life. He gives them a sense of security so they can rely on it. But his eyes watch over their ways. They are exalted for a moment, then gone. They are brought low and shrivel up everything else. They wither like heads of grain. If this is not true, then who can prove me a liar and show that my speech is worthless? So, eh, Job acknowledges here that the wicked don't always escape forever. But justice isn't immediate or predictable either. And he kind of leaves that question open. The question of why does justice, or the question is at the end, sorry, who can prove me a liar and show that my speech is worthless? So he leaves that question open. Now, okay, this is my argument. Now the ball's in your court. You guys have to answer my question. But I think, this is an interesting play. But the friends, the friends, they've abandoned the truth, and now things are about to heat up. Bildad is about to speak now, and these are Bildad's last words. So this speech right now is also only 6 verses long. It's his shortest speech to this date, and you can tell the man is done. He has nothing left to say, but he's going to at least give them a few words. So, chapter 25, the argument essentially collapses here. It says, Then Bildad, the Shuhite, replied, Dominion and dread belong to him, the one who establishes harmony in his heights. Can his troops be outnumbered? Okay, Bildad just repeats a basic truth. Yes, we know God is powerful and majestic. Got it. Thanks, Bildad. For what? You didn't give me you didn't answer my question. I asked you a question and you said God is great. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Chapter or verse 4. How can a human be justified before God? How can one born of women be pure? If even the moon does not shine and the stars are not pure in his sight, how much less a human, who is a maggot, a son of man, who is a worm? Okay. Bildad first said God is great. And now he's saying humans are unclean. He's just emphasizing here that humans are small and impure, and you're completely missing the point, Bildad. Yes, you're speaking truth in a way. It's very abstract and completely avoids Job's actual question. Basically, what he's doing is he's answering around the problem, around the question that Job asked, and not answering to the problem, not addressing it at all, essentially. So, Bildad, you suck. You're not a good friend. At least, not in my opinion. Who am I to judge, though? Ah, that feels so much better. Okay. Chapter 27. No, chapter 26. Sorry, chapter 26. I just skipped a whole chapter. Job is now going to reply. He's going to reply to Bildad. And the the sarcasm kind of returns a little bit with Job. Remember the sarcasm from before? Well, it's gonna come back a little bit. But Job is responding and he's saying basically gonna tell him, like, yes, God is great, but that's not what I asked. Right? All right, let's start reading. Chapter 26 says, Then Job answered, How you have helped the powerless and delivered the arm that is weak. How you have counseled the unwise and abundantly provided insight. With whom do you speak these words? Whose breath came out of your mouth? He basically is like mocking him in a sense. Like you're being completely unhelpful. But sure, I'll let you think that your words truly affected me when they really didn't. They didn't. Chapter 26 verse 5 now. The departed spirits tremble beneath the waters and all that inhabit them. Sheol is naked before God, and Abaddon has no covering. He stretches the northern skies over empty space. He hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps up the water in his clouds, yet the clouds do not burst beneath its weight. He obscures the view of his throne, spreading his cloud over it. He laid out the horizon on the surface of the waters at the boundary between light and darkness. The pillars that hold up the sky tremble, astounded at his rebuke. By his power he stirred the sea, and by his understanding he crushed Rahab. By his breath the heavens gained their beauty. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. These are but the fringes of his ways. How faint is the word we hear of him. Who can understand his mighty thunder? So this is just like one big hymn just talking about God's sovereignty, about how God rules over death, over the sea, over the heavens and chaos. So he's not saying, that Bildad was wrong. He completely agrees with God's greatness. But it just proves to the fact that his friends were never listening. Job's struggle was never about denying God's power. It really has always been about trying to figure out why he hasn't helped him yet. So, yeah. So and the key line here is chapter 26 verse 14. It says these are but the fringes of his ways. How faint is the word we hear of him. So it acknowledges God's mystery without accusing God there. And I think that's the big thing, because the entire time that we've kind of been going through these verses and through the book of Job, we've kind of noticed that Job never points the finger at God and says, "This is your fault, man. Fix this already." He's always like, "I know God is great. I know that he will do what he needs to do when the time is right." It's like, do I wish did it happen already? Yeah, of course I do. But I know that I trust him, and I know that he's doing what he needs to do, which I think is fantastic. I think it's a testament to Job's faith. So, yeah. I hope that you guys are enjoying the show so far. This has been enjoyable for me. I um I have gained a lot of new good insight on Job of just going through this, and of course with you guys in the chat, challenging and get providing insight on different things. So, this has been a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we're doing this together. So, thank you. And of course, if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Appreciate you. Let's continue. The next part that we're about to get into is I feel like Job's final stand. This chapter matters a lot, I feel. This is where Job kind of draws the line. And this is a moment that we kind of need to remember. So chapter 27 starts like this. Job continued his discourse, saying, "As God lives, who has deprived me of justice, and the Almighty who has made me bitter, as long as my breath is still in me, and the breath from God remains in my nostrils, my lips will not speak unjustly, and my tongue will not utter deceit. I will never affirm that you are right. I will maintain my integrity until I die. I will cling to my righteousness and never let it go. My conscience will not accuse me as long as I live." And, Job refuses to confess sins he didn't commit, like his friends are trying to get him to do. He will not lie to make other people feel comfortable because that's what they're asking him to do, essentially. He's not going to fake guilt. This is righteous defiance, in my opinion. He's choosing truth over peace here because the truth will set you free every single time. Yeah. And Artsy Joan is 100% right. She said Job is full of questions as we all are, but not getting straight answers, which we all don't. Totally agree with that. It's interesting how these things kind of pan out and play out. So, yeah. All right, let's continue. Chapter 27, this is now verse 7 where we are. It says, "May my enemy be like the wicked, and my opponent like the unjust. For what hope does the godless person have when he is cut off, when God takes away his life? Will God hear his cry when distress comes on him? Will he delight in the Almighty? Will he call on God at all times? I will teach you about God's power. I will not conceal what the Almighty has planned. All of you have seen this for yourselves. Why do you keep up this empty talk?" So he's basically telling his friends, he's like, look, you guys already know better. You guys know this. His friends understand wickedness better than they admit because they're able to just like spew it off to him and accuse him of doing the things that he's not even doing, which is very interesting. So now they're going and he's saying, you guys know this already. This next part that we'll see is very interesting because it echoes the exact same language that his friends used earlier to try to show them how what they're accusing him of is is not necessarily what he's doing. So chapter 27 verse 13 says, "This is a wicked man's lot from God. The inheritance of ruthless receive from the Almighty. Even if his children increase, they are destined for the sword. His descendants will never have enough food. Those who survive him will be buried by the plague, yet their widows will not weep for them. Though he piles up silver like dust and heaps up fine clothing like clay, he may heap it up, but the righteous will wear it, and the innocent will divide up his silver. The house he built is like a moth's cocoon or a shelter set up by a watchman. He lies down wealthy, but will do so no more. When he opens his eyes, it is gone. Terrors overtake him like a flood. A storm wind sweeps him away at night. An east wind picks him up and he is gone. It carries him away from his place. It blasts at him without mercy while he flees desperately from its force. It claps its hands at him and scoffs at him from its place." So he agrees. The wicked will face judgment, but not as you know, not eventually. It's eventually, and not happening right at this moment, kind of thing. He's not denying that there's justice. He's, never rejected that there was moral order. What he rejected was the idea that suffering that like he's going through proves that guilt is happening right now. If that makes sense. And I would agree with that. He's not saying that, correlation is not equal causation kind of thing. He's just saying, he's like, look, just because they may have done the thing doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen that instant. Which I think is fair. You guys let me know. I, I'd say that's fair. All right, let me take a drink of water to lube up my throat. Gross. Why would I say that? Let's just drink some water. All right. We have some more reading to do. We this next verse that we see is really interesting. I do enjoy this hymn that Job talks about. But some context about what it is. Um Basically this next chapter, chapter 28, is asking what is wisdom. It kind of is like a poem that will reframe the entire book of Job, in my opinion. So the first part of this hymn talks about how humans can find hidden things. So it's and they compare it to mining. So it's interesting the way that he lays it out. So let's start reading. So chapter 28 says, surely there is a mine for silver and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the ground and copper is smelted from ore. A miner puts an end to the darkness. He probes the deepest recesses for ore in the gloomy darkness. He cuts a shaft far from human habitation, in places unknown to those who walk above ground. Suspended far away from people, the miners swing back and forth. Food may come from the earth, but below, the surface of the earth is transformed as by fire. Its rocks are a source of lapis lazuli containing flecks of gold. No bird of prey knows that path. No falcon's eye has seen it. Proud beasts have never walked on it. No lion has ever prowled over it. The miner uses a flint tool and turns up ore from the root of the mountains. He cuts up channels in the rocks, and his eyes spot every treasure. He dams up the streams from flowing so that he may bring to light what is hidden. So, again, using the people mining for silver and gold, and they dig deep. This is almost like a metaphor for thinking and humanity as a whole, because humanity can dig deeper. They can explore the darkness and they can master creations from those raw minerals and tools. So we're good at digging. So humanity is skilled and creative and persistent. But this ability does still have limits though. But let's keep going and we'll see where the wisdom comes from. So chapter 28 verse 12. But where can wisdom be found and where is understanding located? No one can know its value, since it cannot be found in the land of the living. The ocean depths say, it's not in me, while the sea declares, I don't have it. God cannot be exchanged for it, and silver cannot be weighed out for its price. Wisdom cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or lapis lazuli. Gold and glass do not compare with it, and articles of fine gold cannot be exchanged for it. Coral and quartz are not worth mentioning. The price of wisdom is beyond pearls. Topaz from Cush cannot compare with it, and it cannot be valued in pure gold. So, suffering kind of exposes the limits of intelligence and wealth and effort, because wisdom doesn't come from the earth. It isn't brought to you, or it can't be bought with gold or gems, or you can't buy this wisdom. And I know Amber, she's on to something there. I love it. So chapter 28 verse 20 says, where then does wisdom come from and where is understanding located? It is hidden from the eyes of every living thing and concealed from the birds of the sky. Abaddon and Death say, we have heard news of it from our ears. But God understands the way to wisdom, and he knows its location. For he looks to the ends of the earth and he sees everything under the heavens. When God fixed the weight of the wind and distributed the water by measure, when he established a limit for the rain and a path for the lightning, he considered wisdom and evaluated it. He established it and examined it. He said to mankind, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. Or the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And to turn from evil is understanding. I mean, hello? The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. So God alone is the only one who has the wisdom because he established order and he understands it. So this answer of the why doesn't Job understand question, this is the answer for it. Wisdom isn't withheld as punishment. It's beyond human reach. So God is the only one that can see what's going on. And the fact, the chapter ends, chapter 20, it's 28:28. So Job 28:28 literally is the definition of wisdom. And it's literally the fear of the Lord. That is wisdom. And turning from evil is understanding. Wisdom is an explanation. It's an orientation. This verse quietly kind of corrects everyone in the book, including Job. Obviously the friends all had their mistakes and they think that they're all knowing, but they know nothing. And even Job kind of, fluctuated in his faith. I think it's a beautiful reminder for sure. Artsy Jones said, "Put that on a T-shirt." Job 28:28. I'm writing it down because I have like 3 shirt ideas. I hopefully can work on that this week. I'll order mock-ups so that I can see what they look like, and then hopefully within like the next week or 2, potentially after Valentine's Day, I'll have some of that merch up. That'll be fun. So yeah. Artsy Jones said, people losing the fear of God has created many of the issues we experience today. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's interesting that they're starting to, people nowadays, I think we moved the pendulum so far one way where people were godless and all of that, where we're now we're swinging it back to center where people are seeking God and they're seeking the word, and Christian music is on the rise right now and Bible sales are through the roof. People are hungry for this type of content, and I think it's time. I think it happens. It has to happen this way. So I think it's a great understanding to have, and I'm here to continue pushing the needle forward and winning more people for Jesus. So if you guys are here with me on that, I am eternally grateful because it's interesting. I've looked up I've been watching The Chosen and now kind of seeing that Jesus is sending them, spoiler, season 3 episode 2, Jesus is now sending them all on their missions. And having watched the Messengers Christmas special and now watching this episode and seeing how the apostles are really like, okay, like this is a serious mission, we could die, basically. And having known, like seeing the messengers flash forward and seeing that some of them have died, and just seeing the weight and the pressure that all of this comes with is interesting. And I don't even remember where I was going with that now, but yeah. This is a fun time we're having here. But we're not done yet. We're on chapter 29. We're going all the way up to 32 today. So we still got a little ways to go. Let's see what's going on in the chat. So think that's why Solomon asked for wisdom and nothing else. That could be the case, K.O. Kelly. I don't know too much about Solomon's story, but we'll get there at some point this year. Team Smooth, have you looked up fear yet? I have not looked up fear yet. What specifically about fear am I looking up? If you don't mind me asking, just so that I get the correct fear thing that I was supposed to be looking up. And also, Artsy Joan in the chat just sent over a Rumble rant. So why did I say rat? Rumble rant. So I'm going to pull that in real quick so that I don't forget about it. So for $10, Artsy Joan said, "Thank you so much, Jackie. God bless you. God bless you, Artsy Joan. And I appreciate you for being here and always supporting what we're doing here. And yeah, appreciate you. But yeah, Team Smooth, let me know what specifically, because I may have forgotten. There's a lot of things going on in this brain of mine. What specifically I'm supposed to be looking up about fear. That would be fantastic. Appreciate you. Let's continue. Chapter 29. Chapter 29 is kind of this is Job still speaking. But what he's doing now is kind of remembering the before. So remembering all of the things that he lost and kind of so just curious if you dug on the fear of God context. I haven't yet, but I have it now on my tabs, so I will do that as soon as this show is over. So thank you. Thank you for reminding me because I would have definitely forgotten. So thank you. But chapter 29 is now Job kind of grieving the loss of meaning, honor, and identity. He isn't boasting here, I don't think. He really is just like grieving everything that he's lost. And so the first thing that we see him grieving is just Job remembering when God like shone his lamp on him. So yes, we'll get to that in just a second. We'll read it. But before K.O. Kelly has to get out of here, I wanted to say thank you to her. She sent in a $5 Rumble rant that said, here it is. "Can't stay for the live. I'll catch up in replay. Love and blessings to all." Thank you so much, K.O. Kelly. I hope you have a great Sunday. And if I see you later, I'll see you later. And if not, I hope you have a great week. Appreciate you and God bless you. And now let's get into chapter 29. Let's start from there. It says, Job continued his discourse, saying, "If only I could be in months gone by. Be as in months gone by, in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone above my head, and walked through darkness by his light. I would be as I was in the days of my youth, when God's friendship rested on my tent, when the Almighty was still with me, and my children were around me, when my feet were bathed in curds, and the rock poured out streams of oil for me." So God remembers, Job remembers when God's lamp shone on him and life just felt protected and blessed. And this is not nostalgia for comfort here. I think it's more so longing for clarity almost, if that makes sense. So yeah. Chapter 29 verse 7 continues like this. When I went out to the city gate and took my seat in the town square, the young men saw me and withdrew, while older men stood to their feet. City officials stopped talking and covered their mouths with their hands. The noblemen's voices were hushed, and their tongues stuck to the roof of their mouths. When they heard me, they blessed me, and when they saw me, they spoke well of me. So Job was honored at the city gates, and people listened when he spoke. He was respected. And, Job lost his reputation before he lost any answers. So any answers I would have gotten, he would have gotten them already. All right, chapter 29, verse 12 now. For I rescued the poor who cried out for help, and the fatherless child who had no one to support him. The dying blessed me, and I made the widow's heart rejoice. I clothed myself in righteousness, and it enveloped me. My just decisions were like a robe and a turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. I was a father to the needy, and I examined the case of the stranger. I shattered the fangs of the unjust and snatched the prey from his teeth. So Job is now talking about his character. He's talking about how he helped the poor and the orphan and the widow, and he defended the powerless, and he's refuting basically all of the friends' accusations, meaning that he wasn't a wicked person and his life actually matched all of God's values. So that is he's kind of at this point taking his last stand and being like, "Okay, guys, this is you think these things of me? No, you're 100% wrong." And it, it's an interesting thing for sure. All right, let's see. Let's keep going. We're on chapter 29 verse 18. So I thought, I will die in my own nest and multiply my days as the sand. My roots will have access to water, and the dew will rest on my branches all night. My whole being will be refreshed within me, and my bow will be renewed in my hand. So Job kind of assumed stability and long life, and he thought that all of his wealth would last. But the suffering that he's going through, and suffering that you may be going through, often kind of breaks that expectation, and it's it's not just comfort anymore. So it's interesting for sure. All right. Let's finish off this last little bit in this chapter before we keep going, because then chapter 30 is a real long one. So chapter 29 verse 21 says, men listened to me with expectation, waiting silently for my advice. After a word from me, they did not speak again. My speech settled on them like dew. They waited for me as for the rain, and opened their mouths as for spring showers. If I smiled at them, they couldn't believe it. They were thrilled at the light of my countenance. I directed their course and presided as chief. I lived as a king among his troops, like one who comforts those who mourn. So Job is now talking about the leadership. He guided others with wisdom and kindness, and he's talking about his leadership style. And he isn't saying, that he was perfect or anything. What he's saying is that he felt like at least his life had meaning. He felt like he had something to do and something to work for, and something to actually do. But like now he feels like I don't have anything. What am I supposed to do now, So, yeah, let's see. Chapter 29 is grief. Job is mourning. He's lost all clarity, he's lost all purpose. He's he feels like he's lost his place in the world, and he's just grieving for who he was. And yeah, let's see what else he says going into chapter 30. So that was the before, and now chapter 30 is the after. Before we get into the after, I just saw that ZBM sent in a rant as well, so I wanted to read that before I forget. So ZBM for $2 says, listening while cooking brunch, loving the study, really giving great insight to this man's story. Thank you. Can't wait to see all your yummy sourdough creations. So thank you for that. And yeah, I'm excited to eat these sourdough creations. So I will let you guys know. And of course, like I've been telling you guys, I have been documenting every single day. I think today is day 30 of my sourdough journey. And I have been documenting it like from day one and on video. So I am working on putting together multiple it's gonna be multiple vlogs of like maybe like 7 days or something like that, and releasing those on my Rumble channel and my YouTube channel because that is content that I've been enjoying creating and eating and just testing and kind of it really has become the sourdough thing has become like my adult Tamagotchi, and it's my mission in life to try to keep it alive. So I think right now I'm doing a pretty good job, and honestly, this last rise that I had from feeding it turned out really well. But before we get into the after, I had two more sponsors that I wanted to thank. The first one being All Good, of course. All Good is having their Valentine's Day sale right now, where if you buy one of the bundles, the many bundles that they have, those are included on the screen. They have some for men, for some for women, and all good products. You can scan the QR code that is on the screen or go to goallgood.com and purchase one of the bundles. If you purchase one of the bundles and you use my promo code, not only do you get 5% off, but you will also get a free sample of the Talos sunscreen when you purchase one of their bundles. So thank you, All Good, for using or sponsoring our show today. And thank you guys in the chat for using All Good products. And I sense a cat in the window, and I am correct. Oh, you're so dirty. She was rolling. She was definitely rolling around in some sand. She's very sandy. Um, Stay over there, please. Thank you. But anyways, one more ad that I wanted to get to real quick, and that is Rumble Wallet. And they can cancel your accounts and freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line what they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently, yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics, it's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. And of course, you can go down below. If you see the tip button, you can see how to use the Rumble Wallet there. And I actually have had I had someone tip me using the Rumble Wallet, and I thought that was so cool. So if that's what you're doing, then appreciate you. But of course, just you can support one of the actual sponsors of the show, and that is just as well as not. But also, you can just hit that thumbs up, and that is even better. So thank you guys for being here. Kat, you want to go outside? I think she does. So let me let her outside, and then we'll get back into the word. Okay, so I hope you guys in the chat are doing well. If you guys haven't already, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And let's get back into it. We got 3 more chapters, so 30, 31, and 32 left to read today. First being 30. And chapter 30, like I was saying before, our little commercial break, is the after. This is the chapter that contrasts sharply with Job 29. It's the same man, but he's now in a completely different world. So the first guy was the guy who was accepted by all his peers, was super excited, was well respected, all of that. And now we're going to get into Job, who is mocked and all of that. All right, so chapter 30. But now they mock me, men younger than I am, whose fathers I would have refused to put with my sheepdogs. What used to mean what used to me was the strength of their hands. Their vigor had left them, emaciated from poverty and hunger. They gnawed the dry land, the desolate wasteland by night. They plucked mallow among the shrubs, and the roots of the broom tree were their food. They were banished from human society. People shouted at them as if they were thieves. They were living on the slopes of the wadis, among the rocks, and in holes in the ground. They bray among the shrubs. They huddle beneath the thistles. Foolish men without even a name, they were forced to leave the land. So Job is basically saying he's mocked by people once beneath him, and he's lost all respect. He's basically, the suffering that he is going through stripped any social protection that he had first. That was the first thing that he feels was taken away from him. So now chapter 30 verse 9 says, "Now I am mocked by their sons. I have become an object of scorn to them." So he's targeted now. Actually, well, not targeted just yet. He becomes a joke essentially first. So they despise me and keep their distance from me. They do not hesitate to spit in my face, because God has loosened my bowstring and oppressed me. They have cast off restraint in my presence. So it goes from joking to then targeting. The rabble rise up at my right. They trap my feet and construct their siege ramp against me. They tear up my path. They contribute to my destruction without anyone to help them. They advance as through a gaping breach. They keep rolling in through the ruins. Terrors are turned loose against me. They chase my dignity away like the wind, and my prosperity has passed by like a cloud. So they're just piling on now. So when you feel like your dignity is gone, the pain seemed to just multiply. At least that's how that Job is feeling right now. He's feeling very distraught, very down and out. He's like, I feel like I'm targeted. People are like, this is being completely done to me. And what Job doesn't realize is that it kind of is. It is, because Job, or God, allowed the devil to come and do this to Job. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 30, verse 16. Now my life is poured out before me, and the days of suffering have seized me. Night pierces my bones, but my gnawing pains never rest. My clothing is distorted with great force. He chokes me by the neck of my garment. He throws me into the mud, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you for help, but you do not answer me. When I stand up, you merely look at me. You have turned against me with cruelty. You harass me with your strong hand. You lift me up on the wind and make me ride it. You scatter me in the storm. Yes, I know that you will lead me to death, the place appointed for all who live. So again, Job kind of says that God has overwhelmed him a little bit. He's feeling unheard. Basically, God asking God, "Why won't you answer me?" And he's speaking honestly to God. He's not speaking about God. He's not disparaging him or, talking down to him. He's just speaking honesty to him, being like, "You know what, God? Like, come on. Reason with me here, buddy. Can you do me a solid? You're not answering me." I think that's where he's at. Chapter 30, verse 24 says, "Yet no one would stretch out his hand against a ruined person when he cries out to him for help because of his distress. Have I not wept for those who have fallen on hard times? Has my soul not grieved for the needy? But when I hoped for good, evil came. When I looked for light, darkness came. I am turning within and cannot rest. Days of suffering confront me. I walk about blackened, but not by the sun. I stood in the assembly and cried out for help. I have become a brother to jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin blackens and flakes off, and my bones burn with fever. My lyre is used for mourning, and my flute for the sound of weeping. So he feels like this is an injustice. Job feels like he's like, I helped everybody, and now no one's helping me. This doesn't feel fair. He's not asking for comfort or anything like that. He's asking just for some help from somebody who will actually help him. You know? The thing that I had a question about, and I don't know if you guys in the chat can help me, but I'll look it up if I have to, but when he says I have become a brother to jackals and a companion of ostriches, what does that even mean? A companion to ostriches. So let's see. What does it mean when you become a brother jackals and okay, let's see. So becoming a brother to jackals and companion to ostriches, a profound metaphor. Head in the sand, demoted, not acknowledging. Okay, that's what you guys are saying. So it says a profound metaphor for absolute social, emotional, and spiritual isolation. Oh, like a ostrich. Okay, signaling that one's life has become as desolate and forsaken as a wilderness ruin. Signifies deep despair, abandonment, and mourning, comparing one's cry to the mournful wails of desert creatures. I see. So the symbolism here is that jackals and ostriches are creatures associated with ruins, deserts, and desolate places. Gotcha. That makes sense. So the phrase highlights a state of being alone with friends and society distant or having abandoned the sufferer. The comparison relates to the loud, nocturnal, and mournful wailing sounds that both jackals and ostriches produce, echoing the sufferer's continuous unanswered cries. Oh, now I think we need to listen to ostriches. Oh, yes. So, what are ostrich sounds? Oh, God. Ostrich sounds. Oh, boy. This is happening. We are pulling in ostrich sounds because we need to for science and for biblical study. Okay, here we go. That's loud and obnoxious. All right, that's enough. That's enough. That is very loud. So I can okay, ostriches. Okay, well we need to do jackals now too. Jackals I've heard. Ostriches I'm sure I've heard too. I just forgot. But jackal sounds. Let's do this. So let's pull this one in. Let's share our screen. And let's add it to the screen. So this is sound effects. Let's do this one. Oh, I was not expecting that. So we're gonna look for another one. Oh, we gotta unmute it. Okay, that one's definitely I can see that for sure. They're loud, wailing sounds. So he's he's become a brother to jackals and a companion of ostriches. Job, I feel for you. If I had to listen to ostriches and jackals all night long, I would be very much in suffering as well. All right, not to make light of what Job is going through, but that was a cute little side quest for us. All right, now chapter 31. Chapter 31 is almost like when I was reading this, I kind of felt like it was structured like a courtroom or oath. So Job lists his sins and then invites judgment if he's guilty. If that makes sense. So this is like the oath of integrity kind of thing. Chapter 31, this one's long, this chapter is. And so is chapter 32 is decent, but 31 is the long one and it starts as so. So I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I look at a young woman? For what portion would I have from God above, or what inheritance from the Almighty on high? Doesn't disaster come to the unjust and misfortune to evildoers? Does he not see my ways and number all my steps? If I have walked in falsehood, or my foot has rushed to deceit, let God weigh me on accurate scales, and he will recognize my integrity. If my step has turned from the way, my heart has followed my eyes, or impurity has stained my hands. Let someone else eat what I have sown, and let my crops be uprooted. So Job claims restraint and not entitlement. He chooses restraint because integrity begins with the unseen decisions. And that's kind of where he's talking about like the young woman thing. So I think this makes sense. Chapter 31 verse 9 is the next part. So it says, if my heart has gone astray over a woman, or I have lurked at my neighbor's door, let my own wife grind grain for another man, and let other men sleep with her. For that would be a disgrace. It would be an iniquity deserving punishment. For it is a fire that consumes down to Abaddon. It would destroy my entire harvest. So Job rejects the betrayal and secrecy kind of thing that they were talking about before. You know, don't live a double life. Be honest. Choose restraint. Chapter 31, verse 13 through 15, though, I feel like this is a radical humility statement for the world. So here we go. If I have dismissed the case of my male or female servants when they made a complaint against me, what could I do when God stands up to judge? What should I answer him when he calls me to account? Did not the one who made me in the womb also make them? Do not the same God, or did not the same God form us both in the womb? So Job treated his servants as equals before God. He's saying that God made us all. So I think, you know, he's just kind of proving himself little by little that, you know, the things that they all say that he didn't actually do. So now chapter 31 verse 16 is where we are. It says, if I have refuted the wishes of the poor, or let the widow's eyes go blind, if I have eaten my few crumbs alone without letting the fatherless eat any of it. For from my youth I raised him as his father, and since the day I was born I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone dying for lack of clothing, or a needy person without a cloak, if he did not bless me while warming himself with the fleece from my sheep, if I ever cast my vote against a fatherless child, when I saw that I had support in the city gate, then let my shoulder blade fall from my back, and my arm be pulled from its socket. For disaster from God terrifies me, and because of his majesty, I could not do these things. So he insisted that he cared for the poor and the widows and the orphans and all of that. And he's saying, I lived this. I know exactly what's going on. faith here was active. And he even says, he's like, I wasn't just like talking the talk, because I know that if I were to, not do something like this, and he said, and then let my shoulder blade fall from my back, shoulder blade just fall out his back, okay? And my arm be pulled from its socket. That sounds terrible. That sounds like really unnecessary punishment. But he fears God so much that he couldn't do it. Interesting. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 31, verse 24 says, if I placed my confidence in gold, or called fine gold my trust, if I have rejoiced because my wealth is great, or because my own hand has acquired so much, if I have gazed at the sun when I was shining, or at the moon moving in splendor, so that my heart was secretly enticed, and I threw them a kiss, this would also be an iniquity deserving punishment, for I would have denied God above. So he's denying the trusting in riches or status or anything like that. He didn't break one of the commandments. He didn't worship success. He only worshiped God. Because he knew that was unforgivable if he did that. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 31, verse 29 says, have I rejoiced over my enemy's distress, or become excited when trouble came his way? I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for his life with a curse. Haven't the members of my household said, who is there who has not had enough to eat at Job's table? No stranger had to spend the night on the street, for I opened my door to the traveler. Have I covered my transgressions as others do, by hiding my iniquity in my heart, because I greatly feared the crowds, and because the contempt of the clans terrified me, so I grew silent and would not go outside? So this claims the transparency. He has nothing to hide here. He directly counters his friend's accusations by saying, I didn't do these things. I have no hidden sins. You guys say that I do, but I do not. I have nothing else to hide. I have basically laid out my case, and I need a judge to make a decision. And this is his last little part, his final plea. He calls directly onto God and asks him to answer him. And this is really, really interesting stuff here. So he says, if only I had someone to hear my case. Here's my signature. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my opponent compose his indictment. I would surely carry it on my shoulder and wear it like a crown. I would give him an account of all my steps. I would approach him like a prince. If my land cries out against me, and its furrows join in weeping, if I had consumed its produce without payment, or shown contempt for its tenants, then let thorns grow instead of wheat, and stinkweed instead of barley. The words of Job are concluded. So he's basically, Job stands and calls on God to answer him. And he signs his name to this statement. He says, here is my signature. I stand by this. And he's not demanding mercy here. What he's asking for is justice, because he knows that he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. You be the judge now. This is my case. I'm giving it up to you. Team Smooth says, also a mirror shown on them, as some of these things they have obviously done to him. Yes, 100%. Because now we're seeing that reflection of their character. Thank you. That's a great reminder. Thank you, Team Smooth. And Artsy said, yeah, he needs a hug. So the courtroom is set. He's finished speaking. Now we're just waiting on God. But before God answers, a new person joins the chat. New person joins in on the argument, and from what I understand, he's a younger voice. He's a younger voice. His name is El- Elihu, I think. I could be wrong. I'm going to look it up. Because, like I said, I could be very wrong. Let's see. Bible. Let's go to Job. And we're just going to play the translation. Job, this is 32. Okay.
So these three men quit answering Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then Elihu, son of Barachel,
Elihu, that's the name. Okay, so Elihu is now entering the chat. He's a younger voice, and we'll see what he has to say. The first 5 verses, though, is why Elihu is even speaking in the first place. So here we go. So Elihu. So these 3 men quit answering Job. The other 3 friends finally shut up, basically, because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite, from the family of Ram, became angry. He was angry at Job because he had justified himself rather than God. He was also angry at Job's 3 friends because they had failed to refute him and yet had condemned him. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because they were all older than he. But when he saw that the 3 men could not answer Job, he became angry. So now the 3 friends stop talking because Job won't confess. Job is not going to confess because he didn't do anything wrong. And Elihu is angry. He's angry at Job for not justifying himself, and he's angry at his friends for not failing to answer Job. So everyone missed. Elihu's not upset because Job questioned God. He's upset because no one handled it well. So that just wanted to remind you guys that. All right. Chapter 32. We're on verse 6 now. This is our last chapter together. So it says, So Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite, replied, I am young in years, while you are old. Therefore I was timid and afraid to tell you what I know. Been there before, buddy. I thought that age should speak and maturity should teach wisdom. But it is the spirit in a person, the breath from the Almighty, that gives anyone understanding. It is not only the old who are wise, or the elderly who understand how to judge. Therefore, I say, listen to me. I too will declare what I know. So that I've been there before, man. Elihu explains, explains why he waited, because he feels like he, needs to respect the elders, and there's an expectation that he needs to be wise and all of that, but age does not equal wisdom here. And he respects experience it, but he's like, okay, enough is enough. I realize that I need to step in here now. And I've been there before. I've always been the younger person in the room. I'm still the younger person in the room a lot of the times. And I just feel bad if I stand up and say something. But that's just, fear of, that's not from God. So yeah. I will attempt to not do that anymore. But I need your guys' help to do that. So appreciate you guys. All right, let's keep going. And we're almost done. Chapter 32, verse 11 says, Look, I waited for your conclusions. I listened to your insights as you sought for words. I paid close attention to you. Yet no one proved Job wrong. Not one of you refuted his arguments. So do not claim, we have found wisdom. Let God deal with him, not man. But Job has not directed his argument to me, and I will not respond to him with your arguments. So he's like, I listened. I paid attention to all your arguments. And this right here already sets him apart, because the friends didn't do that, obviously. Elihu responds to what was said and not what he assumes of the situation. which is what the friends were doing. The friends were all assuming, they knew what Job did and tried to accuse him and, in fact, kind of force his hand to confess that he was doing these things when he wasn't. So now let's see. Elihu, I'm giving him a chance. I have given Elihu a chance officially. He's at least a decent friend so far. To finish out chapter 32 of today's reading, it says Job's friends are dismayed and can no longer answer. Words have left them. Should I continue to wait now that they are silent? Now that they stand there and no longer answer? I too will answer. Yes, I will tell what I know, for I am full of words, and my spirit compels me to speak. My heart is like unvented wine. It is about to burst like no wineskins. I must speak so that I can find relief. I must open my lips and respond. I will be partial to no one, and I will not give anyone an undeserved title. For I do not know how to give such titles. Otherwise, my maker would remove me in an instant. So, he feels compelled to talk. He's like, okay, this is an ego. This is urgency because he's like, I believe my silence was almost dishonest, and hopefully now we can find some type of solution, if that makes sense. So that is essentially where we are ending our study for today. We will pick up with chapter 33 on Thursday evening. It's going to be a great time, so make sure to don't miss it. I really have been encouraged with all of our time together, and yeah, I hope that you guys are enjoying it and getting something from it. Uh Here's the thing. Like I said, I've always said I'm not a biblical scholar or theologian or anything like that, so I'm probably not always right, but I'm just going and leading where God takes me. So I appreciate you for being patient and providing your insights too, because you guys have some really great insights. Um, yeah, I love you guys. And I am just making sure that I have everything. I'm logging into the last few websites. I, nope, there's no coffees. Cool. No coffees. I already read all the Rumble rants. Make sure I got everything else before I pray. Obviously, we're gonna pray every single time. But yes, share this out with a friend. We want to encourage more people to come and join us every week. Send a text message out to a family member or a friend or something like that to let them know that we need more people to to sh- to get in here with us, and it yeah, share it out with a friend. And also like this stream. We truly appreciate you for being here. I hope this is encouraging and filling your cup. But before we get out of here, I wanted to go ahead and pray. So let's pray before we get out of here and make sure that we always close our time with him. So Lord, today we've listened to a lot of voices and strong opinions and confident arguments. Words spoken with certain about things only you fully understand. Lord, help us remember that knowing about you is not the same as knowing you. Lord, help us slow down when we're tempted to explain pain and instead of sitting with it. Lord, guard our hearts from pride that sounds like wisdom. For those who feel accused or misunderstood or worn down by other people's conclusions, remind them that you see the full story and that you are not rushed and you are not confused and you are never absent. Lord, teach us when we speak and or when to speak and when to be silent. Lord, give us discernment to recognize truth and even when it comes wrapped in imperfect words. Lord, anchor us in humility and trusting that you are still working even when clarity feels far away. Lord, we place our questions, our suffering, and our need to be right into your hands. You alone are God, and that is enough. Lord, I ask you to bless every single person who is watching this live right now with me on Rumble or YouTube or on replay. Lord, we ask you to bless all of the children who may be dealing with dark and depressing times, especially with the Super Bowl going on today. We know that you are Lord of this nation and you have your hand in everything that is going on. Lord, I ask you to continue to guide and lead a hedge of protection around our president and our nation and all of our administrators in our administration. Lord, I thank you and praise you and give you thanks. Lord, I ask you to keep every single person who is watching this in your hands. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. And I will be seeing you guys later this evening at 7 p.m. Eastern for season 3, episode 2 of The Chosen with Bay Theater Dave. And I thank you again for being here. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you guys have not already. We will be back on Thursday for the last bit. Yeah, I think that's the last little bit of of Job. It's going to be a good time for sure. So make sure to stay tuned for that on Thursday, and then we'll be starting. I will announce on Thursday what our next move from here is going to be. So thank you guys again for being here. Love you. God bless you. And I will see you guys again this evening.